It's one of the most securely guarded places in the country. A mammoth enterprise working around the clock to deliver high-voltage electricity. With a combined capacity of 1400 megawatts from its 4 units, Tarapur is India's largest nuclear plant. It's a place very few people have access to. And for the first time, a camera crew will cross the lines of its forbidden boundaries to enter an exclusive territory. To get a glimpse of a world rarely seen.
So this is as close to the actual reactor that you can possibly get.
This is an insight to what goes on behind the walls of a nuclear power reactor.
What you are carrying is 1 million units of electricity.
1 million?
An insight into the complexities of how things work.
This is probably the most futuristic thing I've seen outside of science fiction films.
This is Tarapur Nuclear Power Plant, unlocking power.
This is my chance of a lifetime. I'm inside one of India's most secure installations with a 24-hour pass to explore its most historic nuclear plant. I've already been through some strict security, and now I'm finally ready to enter the fascinating world of nuclear power. So what happens inside a nuclear power plant? Mostly because people don't really know what goes on inside the walls, they tend to give in to their imagination. But what is actually happening inside these walls is that a clean source of energy is being used to produce electricity.
Inside Tarapur Atomic Power Plant, nuclear energy production is in full swing. Tarapur Units 3 and 4 are India's most up-to-date pressurized heavy water reactors in operation, and each is capable of generating 540 megawatt of power.
Worldwide, there are 31 countries that have about 430 commercial nuclear reactors. India has 21 nuclear reactors that are operational, which are run by the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, or the NPCIL.
Tarapur is India's most iconic nuclear plant. When the first 2 nuclear reactors came up in Tarapur way back in 1969, it was an historic event. It was a long journey for the nuclear equipment, which were transported all the way from foreign shores. An agreement had been signed in 1964 between General Electric USA and India to set up the plant. Two more units, Tarapur 3 and 4, came up by 2005-2006 using indigenous technology. Put all 4 together and you have the largest nuclear power plant in the country in terms of capacity.
We have got 4 units. The oldest unit, unit number 1 and 2, they are generating 320 megawatt per day. It comes out to be 7.6 million unit per day. And in Tarapur 3 and 4, this is the latest unit. They are generating around 26 million unit per day. And that is a very big amount of electricity. I can say the TMS site is giving 1/3 generation of the total whatever NPCL is producing as of today.
And at the heart of nuclear power generation is that colossal dome-shaped structure around which the entire plant is built, the nuclear reactor.
The nuclear reactor is where all the action lies. It is here that the electricity is generated. But before we actually cross into that exclusive zone, let's get down to how nuclear electricity is actually produced.
Nuclear electricity is produced by the splitting of uranium atoms to release energy. When a neutron hits a uranium atom, it becomes weak and unstable and breaks down into smaller atoms, releasing more neutrons and energy. This fission chain reaction releases heat, which is eventually harnessed to produce electricity. The source of nuclear energy is raw uranium ore, which is then processed into fingertip-sized uranium dioxide pellets like this one. To get the same energy output as a single uranium fuel pellet, you would have to burn 800 kilograms of coal or almost 150 gallons of oil. The pellets are then loaded into these metal fuel rods, which are grouped together to form a power pack bundle. Each of these bundles weighs about 24 kilos.
Hundreds of fuel bundles are inserted into a giant cylindrical vessel called the calandria. That is the heart of the nuclear reactor. When a neutron bombards uranium, it causes the uranium atom to split into two smaller atoms with the release of large amounts of energy. So fission creates heat that is used to convert water into steam. The steam then turns huge turbines that drive generators that make electricity. While nuclear energy is produced in the reactor, everything is controlled in what is perhaps the most important room in the plant, the control room. The control room is the hub of a live 24-hour production of nuclear power and is manned by personnel working around the clock.
I'm inside the nerve center of the nuclear plant, the control room. This is where every minute detail of the nuclear plant is monitored with extreme precision. These are probably the most fascinating screens in the control room. This is the very heart of the nuclear reactor. Basically, what these screens are monitoring is the amount of energy generated by the reactor and the amount of energy extracted. It's critical to get the balance right.
These numerous parameters are meant for the safe operation of the plant. If anything at all were to go wrong, the reactor would lose 0.5% of its power per second, and in about 3.5 minutes, the entire system would shut down. The highly skilled and trained personnel in this control room keep a hawk's eye on all monitors and are responsible for making sure that the parameters are under control.
I take care more than 20,000 plus parameters of the plant. It should be within its limits so that every time I have to be vigilant and take care of those parameters. After all, people's safety is in our hand only.
So the man in control of the control room is the shift charge engineer. Mr. Sahu, tell me, what is the most challenging part of your job?
Most challenging part of the job is mainly we have to operate this plant safely and at a authorized power level. That is, I think, it is the most challenging part.
And how advanced is your system now?
This plant control is very much advanced, and we are monitoring and controlling all the system parameters inside this control room. All these control parameters, this can only be monitored inside this control room. So in that way, it is this plant is safe.
It's very secure. So what it means is that this system cannot be interfered with from the outside, and it cannot be hacked into, basically. This control room has a special monitor installed which keeps track of seismic activity in the area. In the event of an earthquake, the power plant will trip and automatically shut down.
Every day, along with power generation, refueling of the machine is also done, which is a critical part of Tarapur's daily operation.
The refueling in the pressurized heavy water reactors is carried out every day when the reactor is operating. So the operations has to be carried out totally remotely from the control room, and these operations are monitored by two independent computers of both sides fueling machines, which has to work in synchronism as per the programs which are written, and adequate safety provisions are given in this system to carry out such a refueling in an orderly manner and safe manner.
Since refueling happens at the core of the nuclear reactor, robotic machines that function as arms push the new fuel bundles into the slots in the calandria so that they can undergo nuclear fission. And on the opposite side, a similar robotic arm takes out the spent fuel bundle.
So apparently it's refueling time. Let's find out about the process here. Hi. Could you tell us about the refueling process? How often do you do it?
Total we have 392 channels. Out of these 392 channels, per day we carry out refueling of 2 to 3 channels. Refueling of these 2 to 3 channels, we have 2 machines, one on north side of the calandria, another on the south side of the calandria. We take out these machines from their park position to the channel position. We align these machines to the channel with our high precision sensor. After aligning, we clamp this machine on the channel. We open up the boundary of the channel. We push new fuel bundle from the one side. Suppose I'm starting my refueling from the north side, so I'll push new fuel bundles from the north side, and I'll extract the spent fuel bundle from the south side of the machine. This way we complete our filling.
And all that is monitored from here? Or
All the parameters are remotely monitored here, and this whole operation is carried out using a microcomputer. So in totally automatic mode, this refilling is being done. All the feedbacks are available on this panel, both way, in this computer also and in these indications also. All the feedbacks are available to the panel operator.
And I'm soon about to witness what very few people in the world ever will: nuclear fuel being loaded into the reactor. Inside Tarapur, India's largest nuclear plant, electricity is generated around the clock. To keep up with this continuous production, the daily refueling of nuclear fuel is an integral part of the operation. Now it was time for me to head to the reactor to get a first-hand experience of the refueling in progress.
So we are now entering the most restricted zone of the plant. Nobody is allowed access to that area other than maintenance engineers. And as you can see, we need to wear protective clothing for that.
The protective clothing and gear is meant to be a barrier against radiation contamination. Since this is a highly radioactive zone, the radiation levels need to be monitored carefully.
You can't mention the word nuclear power without the word radiation following it. Now, we've all used this word often enough, but without completely understanding what it actually means. So what does radiation exactly mean?
The universe is made up of particles. Some particles release excess energy. This excess energy released in the form of electromagnetic waves is called radiation.
We live in a radioactive world. We are exposed to radiation from the sun, from outer space, from the earth, or even the food and drink we consume. In fact, you may be exposed to more radiation eating a banana, taking an X-ray, or a round trip to New York than you would if you lived an entire year near a nuclear power plant.
Tarapur has different zones numbered from 1 to 4 based on the radiological probability of each zone. Zone 1 is the least radioactive area, while Zone 4 is a highly radioactive area with a higher contamination potential. Workers and equipment are thoroughly checked for contamination when moving from a higher contamination area to a lower one, so that it minimizes the chance of radioactive particles being transferred. The time was drawing near to what would be an ultimate experience for me. A rare chance that extremely few people in the world get to experience. A chance to enter the reactor building.
Now we would be entering the reactor building 3. So it's what we are seeing over here is the main airlock. There will be 2 doors. These are automatic doors, and this is the outer containment door, and then there would be one more inner containment door. So before entering, we will put on this protective gear, the gloves and the shoes. Inside right now, our fueling operations are going to start. So I think we will be able to get a view of that also.
There's another door.
Yeah, this is another door. Actually, there are two different containments in this. The whole reactor building is having two containments, the inner containment and the outer containment. And both these two, when there is a differential pressure between here, inside the other door and outside. They are meant to prevent any release of radioactivity to the outside environment. There are two separate set of buildings. One is completely enclosing the other one. So we will just move now to the inner one.
Oh my God. So this is as close to the actual reactor that you can possibly get. I was about to witness up close what very few people in the world have seen. The actual loading of a fuel bundle just before it is inserted into the reactor for nuclear fission to take place. These new fuel bundles have gone through some stringent quality checks before they arrive here. The raw fuel bundles, which are made in the nuclear fuel complex in Hyderabad, the center which makes all nuclear fuel, are carefully brought to the plant and thoroughly checked for their quality.
After receiving fuel bundles from the manufacturer unit, we are doing the three tests. One is a physical test, then it is a dimensional test, and third is a integrity test. After doing the visual and the dimensional checks, we are putting three bundles in one bumming chambers in individuals. And after covering it, we are pressurizing this by the helium gas up to 6 kg for 1 hour.
The helium test is used to detect leaks. Once the new fuel bundle passes it, it is good enough to be loaded into the calandria.
Now we are inside this new fuel loading area. It's also one of the critical areas, and from here we will load the fuel manually and then we will go ahead. This fuel goes after that, it's all through a system driven.
Is it safe for me to handle it?
The new fuel is not, there's no problem in that, and it's visitor friendly, so there's no problem. So I will just lift one of these bundles. It's a bit heavy and we just have to put it here. The fuel goes in pairs. So would you like to load the other one?
Sure, why not?
Now what you are carrying is 1 million units of electricity. This one fuel bundle.
1 million?
1 million units of electricity.
That's heavy.
I think you are able to lift it quite comfortably.
It's not that easy.
Now here onwards the hydraulic ram will advance, and then the fuel goes into this new fuel magazine, and then again the transfer system, the fueling machine, which we'll be seeing next.
Alright.
So but now we have loaded together, both of us have loaded 2 million units.
2 million units. Let there be light.
Now this is the vault where all the coolant channels are there, in which the uranium fuel is there. So this area is inaccessible and it is closed by this door, which has got an interlock. It won't open when the reactor is above a particular power, 0.1% power.
Above 1% power.
0.1% power, we can't open it.
So this is one of the two entry points into the vault of the nuclear reactor. You can enter only once the plant is shut down for maintenance.
Inside the radiation fields are significantly high. So outside it's pretty safe, there's no problem over here. So we'll just see from there the wing window, the other side of it we can see inside. This is called the wing window. From this wing window you can just go inside and see. You can go near, sir, there's no problem out here. And what you're seeing inside is the fueling machine.
This is probably the most futuristic thing I've seen outside of science fiction films. This is the robotic machine that actually loads the fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
What we've just put in there.
Yeah, right. What you have put in here, that is the fresh fuel has come into this machine. It has taken this fuel and now it will be loading into this calandria, or we say the coolant tubes. There are 392 coolant tubes, and each of this machine will just now swing and 90 degree and align with those coolant tubes. Right now, he is going to do the first channel of today.
Those things, each one is there basically to maintain a certain temperature. How much what kind of temperature are we talking about?
If you see closely inside, there is a plug outside. We call it the sealing plug or the closure plug. So that inside those tubes, there is a temperature of around 300 degrees centigrade and a pressure of around 100 kg per centimeter square. These refueling operations in this plant, we have now taken out the seal plug and put it back around 7,000 times. That means around 14,000 times we have opened it and put it back. So it's pretty safe. And overall, among the Indian nuclear power plants, we have now done these operations for around 70,000 times. So that much expertise we have developed now.
And all this nuclear energy that is generated finally finds its way to the mammoth turbine room.
I'm now heading into the turbine room. That's the place where electricity is actually generated. But before I go in there, I better put on these earmuffs because I've been told it gets really loud in there. All set?
The production of nuclear electricity is done on a massive scale at Tarapur Nuclear Power Plant. The nuclear energy generated is finally transformed into electricity in the turbine room.
Now this feels like a proper nuclear power plant. I can feel the heat being generated from the steam that is being produced inside the turbine. Behind this turbine, there are two turbo generators. And over there, on that meter, we can see the actual amount of electricity being generated in megawatts.
Once the electricity is generated, it is transported through a transmission network or grid, which are wires that wheel high voltage power over long distances to the substation. The voltage is then stepped down at the substations and then distributed to the end user at voltages suitable for home use. So where does nuclear power score over other forms of energy?
The nuclear power is location neutral. That means the nuclear power plants can be set up at any of the locations irrespective of the availability of the fuel. Another thing is the nuclear power is a base load generating technologies. That means it generates the electricity 24 hours, all 7 days in a week, or you can say 365 days in a year.
Presently, thermal is acting as a base load station. All our thermal resources like coal and petroleum, they are depleting fast. Well, you see that renewables like our solar and wind power, they are supplying electricity intermittently, so they cannot be considered a base load station.
So when it comes to nuclear power, where does India stand?
India has more than 4 decades of safe nuclear power generation, and we have mastered pressurized heavy water reactor technology. We have comprehensive capabilities in designing, construction and operation, and we have demonstrated our capabilities in par with the world-class standards. In fact, one of our reactors is operated more than 750 days continuous operation, which achieved the second longest duration of operation among the world reactors. This shows our competency in par with the world class.
But getting to be world class doesn't just happen. At Tarapur, complex technology is handled by extremely skilled personnel, and it is not by chance that every single person working at Tarapur has got here after a long, intense period of training.
The nuclear reactor is a very big power generating utility. When you are operating nuclear plant, the enormous responsibility of operating this plant in a safe and efficient manner is very huge. And therefore, we have to make sure that every step, starting from induction to training to continual training and field experience, that whatever pool of manpower which we are utilizing for operating this plant are indeed worth it. So that's why we have a very elaborate qualification and licensing program. These licenses are awarded by the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. Broadly, we recruit at 3 different levels, namely technicians, supervisor and scientific officers. Those who are shortlisted from written examination undergo interview. If you clear that interview, then you are just inducted into a rigorous training program. Just like breathing is required all the time, similarly, continual training is part and parcel of operating a nuclear power station. We cannot be complacent that, okay, you are licensed, you can continue to operate. If he is a licensed control engineer, he cannot continue to be so unless he clears himself after 3 years. So there is a requalification every 3 years.
This is the place that turns these men into pros. Under simulated conditions, these men face situations, some of which they are improbable to face during their tenure at the plant. But their extensive training here will prepare them for any eventuality in the future, for real. This is an exact working replica of the control room that trainees get to work with.
Basically, we are having normal day-to-day operation in the plant. These are normal operations. Then infrequent operations, those which do not occur normally. And then some are our emergency operations also. And we give training on all those things. This is a infrequent operation where they do not get an opportunity in live system. So we will simulate a sequence and they will act and take actions as needed as per the scenario. Whenever we give an exercise, basically we evaluate them on 9 parameters. So those parameters are also set. Their attentiveness to panel, their initial actions, their subsequent manual actions, their teamwork and procedure adherence. आज हम एक exercise करेंगे class 4 failure का. And your roles I will just define. You are the assistant chief engineer. You are the overall control of the panels in the station.
So detail to safety and training of personnel is key to running Tarapur successfully. While nuclear power has certain advantages over other sources of power,
people are still wary about nuclear power. In the nuclear world, an accident anywhere is an accident everywhere. And some of these accidents, admittedly, have left their scars on nuclear history. But these very accidents have also provided vital safety lessons for existing nuclear facilities around the world.
In nuclear power technology, we have a good international cooperation. The incidents which happened in the internationally, right from 3 Mile Island accident, Chernobyl accident, and even the recent Fukushima accident, all have been, the internal details have been very well shared among the international community. The experiences gained and the inadequacies, everything has been well analyzed. And in Indian context also, we have taken several measures to strengthen the safety features. We have provided additional features in the new reactors as well as in the existing reactors based on these accidents.
So how safe is this nuclear plant?
Tarapur functions on a defense-in-depth philosophy, which essentially means that there are multiple barriers in place to prevent disasters. It starts with the uranium, which is in ceramic pellet form. These are encased in sealed zirconium alloy tubes to form fuel rods, which in turn are confined within a steel pressure vessel. Finally, this is enclosed in a containment structure with walls nearly 2 meters thick.
If we see the onion, before reaching to the core, there are multi-layers. Similar philosophy is applicable for nuclear power plants. Basically, it is multi-layer prevention, including the physical barrier, to prevent the release of the radioactivity to the environment. The basic aim of the defense in depth philosophy to prevent the accident. Suppose accident do happen, then we have to limit the consequences and subsequently prevent the progression of the consequences to the environment.
The plant has got a 2-group safety concept. With each group of safety independently can cater the various basic safety functions of the nuclear reactor, what we call as 3 C's, that is control of reactivity, core cooling, and containment. So each group is capable of performing all these three functions. In order to achieve that, the plant layout has been made in such a fashion that half of the safety systems are physically located in an independent structure and half are located in other part of the area of the plant.
The walls of this dome are fortified to ensure that no radioactivity escapes from the inside. Apart from its thickness, there is a second layer of wall with negative pressure between the two walls so that in case of a leak, the pressure from the outside prevents the inside radioactive air from leaking out.
We have got these two barriers, inner wall and outer wall. If activities, let us say it goes out, then we have got a 1.6 kilometer exclusion zone. Beyond that only, people are permitted to habitate.
Even beyond the fringes of the exclusion zone, a strict vigilance is kept on the radiation effect on the environment. The Department of Atomic Energy has kept a watchdog called the Environmental Survey Laboratory that tests the environment for any traces of harmful nuclear radiation.
We started our work right from 1964, much before the plant started operation. And we were doing for last more than 4 decades. We collect samples like air, water, and meal, fish, vegetable, grass, seawater from this local environment. The primary role of the environmental monitoring is to demonstrate that dose to the members of public is within the limit prescribed by regulatory agency of India based on international guidelines. The Tarapur Nuclear Power Station and other facilities are safe and there is no impact to the environment due to their operation.
Perhaps one of the biggest advantages of nuclear power generation is that there is no emission of greenhouse gases and the surroundings are kept green.
And well, this butterfly park is proof enough.
I have been inside the nuclear reactor building where nuclear energy is produced and the turbine room where electricity is generated. But there was still one more area left for me to explore, the spent fuel bay area.
So what happens to used fuel bundles once they're discharged by the nuclear reactor? I guess this is where we find out.
Yeah, this is our storage bay for TAPS 3. We will see it here.
What is happening here?
So this is our main spent fuel storage pool of TAPS 3, and there is a similar pool of TAPS 4. In this pool, we can store our reactor fuel for a period of 10 full power years.
You're talking about the bigger pool?
Yeah, the bigger pool.
And these ones?
And these smaller pools are the receiving bays. When the fuel comes from the channel, the discharge fuel
from the reactor.
It comes in pairs. 2 bundles come here. We take them, receive them over here, and then we push it down to the bigger pool. And then there we keep them in those storage trays. What you are able to see there are the trays.
Yeah.
So we keep them there stored. This water is for cooling as well as for shielding purpose. Since
it's regular water. What kind of water is it?
It's a DM water.
DM.
It's a demineralized water. It's just we are maintaining pure chemistry of the water. It's nothing much special. It's found in normal industries also. So
let's go take a closer look. Can we?
All the fuel bundles used in the past few years have found their resting place in this huge pool, more than 30 feet deep, filled with demineralized water. When a fuel bundle is removed, it emits heat and radiation. So to cool the bundle and shield the radiation, it is kept in this pool of water called the spent fuel storage bay. The minimum cooling period is 4 years, after which they may be sent for reprocessing.
this is the spent fuel receiving bay that I was telling you on the top. We have refueled one channel L11 today in the morning.
Okay.
So one of the spent fuel bundles of that channel is being discharged right now. So what you will see is the discharge of one of the spent fuel bundles, which has been refueled just about 2-3 hours back. So this, from this receiving bay, it will be going to the storage bay.
And the only thing protecting us is this, what we call the shield, is this water.
Shield. Water is shielding. It's a very good radiation shield, as well as it's taking out the decay heat from the fuel bundle. So it's also cooling the fuel bundle, so as well as shielding.
You maintain a water temperature also.
We maintain a water temperature and the water depth. Like here you can see it's around 5.5 meters. So this much is the depth of water. Yeah. And what we are seeing down below is, the water is that clear that we are able to see everything on the floor.
So a critical question. What are the chances of this water mixing with, say, groundwater or any other source of water?
The chances are next to negligible. The system is designed in a way, this whole, like what you're seeing, there are the SS plates.
SS as in?
Stainless steel plates are there.
Okay, not Secret Service.
They are stainless steel 304 plates, and after, this whole pool is lined with these plates. And behind one layer, there's another layer of plates.
Okay.
And then there are other systems. This whole ground is also 5-meter waterproof. There is a waterproofing treatment also there.
And probably the most armored of vaults that you can
get.
Yeah,
it's most armored. There have been plenty of quality assurance checks we have done on this, including vacuum box testing, DPT and everything, so that there is no leak from the here. The spent fuel bundles will be coming out from this.
You will actually see the bundle.
Yeah, we will actually be seeing the bundles which we have refueled or discharged from the channels in the morning.
I never dreamt that I would actually witness this kind of a nuclear transfer happening with my naked eyes.
Those are the spent fuel bundles.
Oh. But once again, is it like a shell that I'm seeing, or is it actually the fuel that I'm seeing?
It's actually the fuel. Right now also you can see there is somewhat of a bluish tinge out there on the spent fuel bundles.
So it's not just that they are blue colored, it's a blue glow. It's like emitting light.
Yeah, it's called a Cherenkov light. This is a special peculiar characteristic of a spent fuel bundle. Actually, the speed of the radioactive particles in this water medium is more than the speed of light in this medium. Because of that bluish tinge is coming.
Oh.
And this was discovered by one scientist, Cherenkov, so it's said on this name.
So unlike a thermal power plant, where the coal cannot be reused, a nuclear power plant uses what is known as spent fuel. So when we see these uranium fuel rods that have been used coming here, they'll be stored in these cases, and eventually plutonium will be extracted from them, which can again be used as nuclear fuel.
India has a 3-stage nuclear program, which was envisioned by the father of the Indian nuclear program, Dr. Homi Bhabha. In stage 1, natural uranium is used as fuel to generate electricity. In addition, plutonium-239 gets generated. In stage 2, plutonium-239 with thorium will be used as fuel to generate electricity. In addition, U-233 will be generated. In stage 3, uranium-233 with thorium will be used as fuel to produce power, as well as more uranium-233. One of the key things about nuclear power generation is that the plant can be kept running continuously and power is produced without any interruption. To keep the plant running successfully, maintenance of the equipment is an integral part.
Nuclear energy and safety go hand in hand. Regular checks and maintenance are an integral part of the operations. Right now, I'm going to join a team that is getting ready for the action. Could you tell us what is happening in terms of maintenance today?
Yeah, this is our fuel handling maintenance shop. But if you really want to see us how we carry out the maintenance, then we have taken up one major maintenance job inside reactor building in Unit 4. So if you would like to go, then I will take you there, but it's below the wall, below the reactor. And for that, we have to wear some protective clothing.
So that sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
This is a first for me. Now I really feel like I'm a part of a science fiction film.
Equipment reliability is one of the challenging job for the maintenance personnel. If our equipment is safe, plant is safe, and plant is safe, whole nuclear society is safe.
It was a planned maintenance of the change of RAM assembly. It's the thing which is pushing the fuel bundles, which is taking out all the plugs. With this RAM assembly, we had completed 1200 refueling operations.
The RAM assembly is the heart of the robotic fueling machine. For servicing this part, the maintenance team needs to be in ventilated plastic suits and pressurized air masks to protect them.
That was an amazing experience. The most fascinating part about this whole experience was that I'm at the cutting edge of technology, the very cutting edge, and yet somebody has to do the nuts and bolts job with their hands. Now these guys are the real superheroes here, even though I look like one or dress like one.
But being dressed like a superhero still doesn't give me superpowers, so I still need to get my radiation levels checked.
Rajagopalan, I've just come from Zone 4, and could you tell me how would you measure my exposure to radioactivity if there was any?
Yeah. If there are two personal monitors we are given to you, this is called TLD, this is the direct reading dosimeter. So you can see that while taking, they might have given you at 0. Yeah, now you can see the final reading is 2.33 microsievert. This is the dose you have received for today. Microsievert. That is the dose you have received. But this is recorded here also. But similarly, every day you will be taking this when you take a job. You might have taken an RWP for working. And every day, this dose will be added in your TLD number in our software program. So end of the month, we will send this for reading. Whatever the dose registers, that's called the legal date.
What is the permissible limit?
We got two types of categories. One is the temporary workers and is a departmental worker. For departmental workers in a year, you can give up to 30 millisievert dose. But for temporary workers, it is 15 millisievert dose. That's the dose limit we are giving for that.
And how do you monitor the different zones? I noticed there are machines everywhere if you go from zone 4 to 1, lower zones.
Yeah, all these areas, all the zoning is based on our radiological probability of contamination. On that basis, we are divided. When you are exiting from each zone, you should check yourself you are not carrying any radiation with you. So that we call it as a contamination. That's why it is called interzonal monitors. It is mandatory that when you exit each zone, you have to thoroughly check for contamination. That's our zonal philosophy and the way we are controlled.
Based on the scientific data, there is no correlation between the radiation and the congenital anomaly. The second apprehension is that the radiation causes cancer. So if you see the data, cancer prevalence rate among the employees, those who are working in the close proximity of the radiation and the nearby, all samples if you take for the health assessment and based on the epidemiological survey, we have found that it is 1/5 when compared to any location where there is no nuclear power.
We are the graduate engineers. We can get job anywhere in the world. Still we are working here because we know the consequences of radiation are negligible.
If we take the entire our plant, average a person receiving dose from Tarapur P4, it's around 0.6 to 0.8 millisievert in a year. Even though your limit is around 20 millisievert or 30 millisievert. And number of person exceeding more than 5 millisievert, if you say that it's hardly 1%. That's how we control. Even though we got the limit, we will not allow the person to receive that much. You got any praise?
Thank you. So I've spent an entire day inside the nuclear plant and I've just been given the green signal. I'm completely contamination free. I must say, I came in with a little bit of reservation, coming into a nuclear plant for the first time. but it seems like any other industrial plant, except that you have to wear this bit of protective clothing, and that's about it.
And as I leave, Tarapur continues its relentless mission of producing power. In the near future, India plans to increase the supply of nuclear electricity multifold. And as the largest power-producing nuclear plant in India, Tarapur will continue to lead the way.